I wrote a tweet last week about the current situation we find ourselves in regarding LGBTQ plus and our children who are a vulnerable captive audience in schools. We just entered Pride Month, so this video is fitting. There was overwhelming support for what I wrote, but there were a few concerns as well I'd like to supplement into this monologue. Let me tell you what I wrote in the tweet before I elaborate. I want to state something clearly for everyone to understand about me. I don't care what you do in your bedroom or who you do it with, as long as it's consensual and no one is being victimized. It is ridiculous to think that anyone has the right to tell you who you can or cannot love. That's up to you. Same-sex couples don't impact my life, and I have no desire to impact anyone else's relationships. If you find true love, work at it and make it the best relationship possible. My issue is with the grooming and confusing young children with gender dysphoria ideology in schools and other publicly funded places. I reject the mass indoctrination of children for the sake of 1% of children, while 99% don't have an issue, under the transphobic, homophobic name-calling meant to silence debate. While I sympathize with children and families experiencing gender dysphoria, schools are the wrong place to tackle this. Our 1% children and their families need specialized care that schools should not be involved with or expected to handle, especially without the consent of the legal guardians. What the schools in the West have been doing to 99% of the adolescents is immoral, and I question if it's even truly legal. Parents, talk to your schools and come together as one voice. This fight has nothing to do with phobias. It has everything to do with protecting your children from the psychological harms of this woke, ideologically devastating indoctrination happening to our kids right now. Put a stop to this before it's too late. Our kids have been through enough. That was my tweet. I'd like to add some of my further thoughts on this issue. Parents are legally responsible for the actions of their minor-aged children. School boards and counselors are actively engaged in teaching children to keep secrets from their parents. How dare these boards and supposed medical health professionals assume parents are a threat to their own children? Question: why would adults want to teach children to keep secrets from their parents anyway? I suspect you know the answer to that. If we, as a society, really want to help and support children with gender dysphoria, we have to help the entire family. This is not a child-only issue to address. It's an entire family issue. When school boards foster secrets between parents and children, claiming the parents are a threat to the safety of a child who identifies as transgender, you can obviously see that the schools believe they have more authority than you, the parent. If you accept that some children with gender dysphoria deserve more specialized attention than other children, why in the world would you actively leave the parents out of the process? Bill C-4 completely ignores informed consent when it comes to the minors and guardianship. This is a law with poorly constructed elements that I believe we have a duty as parents to ignore. When these children are betrayed by the transition system itself, who will be there to save these children from the carnage caused by the school boards? It will be the parents, not the board members. The parents will only be allowed to participate in cleaning up the destruction from a system of monumental betrayal, but they will be powerless to prevent it from happening in the first place, because the schools are actively teaching children to lie to their parents. And the entire federal government just made it a crime for a parent to have hard conversations with their children about their sexual orientation. On the issue of calling us names like bigot and homophobe, we see through this tactic you are using because you don't have an argument to back up your claims. Here is the truth that you won't acknowledge. Parents want their kids to go to school to learn skills like reading, writing, math, science, geography, and history. They don't send their kids to school to be indoctrinated by social engineering ideology meant to destroy the family unit. The parents are responsible for teaching morals, ethics, and their values, not the schools. Religious institutions assist the parents with this too. That includes protecting children who are also trans as well. We don't want doctors and schools transitioning children before they're competent to make that decision, especially behind the backs of their parents. LGBTQ activists have successfully duped the government into pushing this family-destroying agenda into the schools because they know the kids are separate from their parents and their parents would put an end to it. Parents know schools are not a place for this. What really offends me every time I watch one of these school board meetings, and we've all seen them, is how disrespectful, rude, and arrogant the board members treat the tax-paying parents who simply want to protect all of the children, not just heterosexual children in schools. I've watched dozens of board members turn off the microphone of parents because they didn't like what the parent had to say. They stick to a very rigid process, which appears to be their priority, instead of actually listening to the truthful words of the parents who have gone to speak at these meetings. The process is not more important than listening to fully engaged parents when it comes to their own children. Isn't that what teachers used to want from parents? More engagement? If the tax-funded board members don't start listening to parents, maybe the parents should take very decisive and legal actions against board members themselves. This is a Western civilization problem. China and other countries are building infrastructure and increasing their militaries. We're letting school boards confuse our students with pronouns and affirmations, while simultaneously reducing their chances of success as new adults who will be ill-equipped to handle adversity. The children were just fine until this ideology started in schools. Now kids are so messed up they actually think it's fine to identify as a furry. Get your kids out of public schools if you can. You did it during lockdowns, and I recognize it's hard. There are alternatives to public schools. We have to send a clear message to the school boards, the medical community, and the courts that we will no longer stand for this indoctrination of our children. Finally, to members of the LGBTQ community, many of us recognize that there is a difference between the rights you have gained over decades and the dark activists who have subverted what you have earned in order to exploit children for their own perversion. We, the parents, are not going to stand for this any further. School boards, school leaders, and teachers, stay firmly inside your lanes and teach skills. Rest assured, us parents will do the rest, and we will protect our children from you, if we must. If you like what you're seeing and hearing on our Meet Me in the Middle podcast, we want to know about it. My team and I strive to provide compelling content that is of most interest to you. So please interact with me on social media. Let us know what you like, what riles you up, and what makes you feel hopeful during these crazy times. Join my Twitter feed and follow my Facebook and Instagram pages when you visit. I also send a Freedom Updates newsletter right to your inbox with podcast details. Sometimes we even give things away, so sign up on my website. Please hit the subscribe button on both YouTube and Rumble. Be sure to sign up for notifications so you don't miss an episode, and forward this video to a like-minded friend. We're grateful to every one of you for joining us on this freedom journey. We've got a lot more planned, so tune in.